Okay, hi. Welcome to Talking About Stuff, the podcast where we chat with authors about their amazing stories, big ideas, and how Web3 is reshaping their creativity. I'm your host, Jason, and today I'm honored to have Tracy Harding, a best-selling author and visionary storyteller, joining us. Tracy is the mind behind the upcoming mint, The Ancient Future. You might also know her from her previously minted book, The 12 Chapters of the Infinite Night. She is well versed in the world of Web3 publishing, and I'm thrilled to have her as our first guest on today. Tracy, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Jason. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Tracy, let's just jump right in. Can
Okie
you
doke.
tell us what inspired you to start writing, especially in your genre, which is fantasy, spirituality, history, science fiction, time travel? What started your creativity?
Just interest in all those things, because I wasn't much of a reader. I was actually dyslexic when I was young. I still am, very much so. But I liked looking into all the greater mysteries in life, and I just discovered all these really interesting things, and they were just sparking all these ideas. I've kind of always been into storytelling. I was a storyteller when I was young. I was that girl, when you were having the sleep out that was telling the horror stories that was scaring everyone, that person. And then it just sort of developed into writing when my best friend, who I used to tell stories to, went overseas. And she was going, I'm hanging out for a story. I'm going, well, I could try and write one. But because I was dyslexic and couldn't spell very well, it was kind of like she became my editor, by the way. She has been my editor all the way through this journey. Because the first thing she said when she read The Ancient Future was, get me a red pen. But I've always claimed to be a storyteller. I never claimed to be a writer. I think I've reincarnated from a time when there was bards and it was all an oral thing.
Hmm.
This spelling, it just kind of gets in the way. It's like, who created the English language anyway? It's ridiculous.
Is that why the ancient future is set during that time, you
In
think?
the maybe, you just never. I felt a real affiliation with that place. Like, I wanted to take her back to the Dark Ages, but I was not doing King Arthur, rah rah. Because if you've researched all of that, King Arthur was probably Welsh, and he was probably not called Arthur, and they probably put him completely in the wrong place, because it's the whole Welsh storytelling tradition that those stories came from. Had nothing to do with Cornwall or any of that. So, I was kind of looking up in that area in Wales, and I came across Taliesin, who was a bard who was featured in the early Mabinogi, which was the Welsh storytelling tradition. And Merlin, in fact, who was actually called Myrddin, who was like, he was from up north, and he didn't come for hundreds of years after, the time period of Arthur, supposedly. So that's kind of, I ended up in ancient Wales because I was more interested in looking into maybe the real history. And
Hmm.
as the story's gone along and developed, because you're talking about a series of 14 books, and we not only cross time into different time periods here, we cross universes, we cross
Hmm.
dimensions, we do different states of consciousness. Like, there's nowhere these characters won't go. They're in for it. And but this first book, we're just traveling back to the Dark Ages and spending a bit of time in the modern day as well. So it's kind of, you get a bit of both worlds, but the series itself goes all sorts of places.
Amazing. So, what was the where were you at in life, like when the creation of the ancient future started?
Well,
Like, where were you at in your author career? How far along were you?
I was writing movies. Like, I mean, I was at a film studio because one of the producers there had read one of my scripts. He really liked it, wanted to develop it, and he also needed somebody to do studio management. So I kind of ended up in studio management developing this film script in the studios there, and we had a visiting producer from South Africa who'd just come off King Solomon's Mines, which was all like, martial arts and stuff. And she was saying, you should write something with martial arts because it's really popular, really easy to sell right now. And so I did start writing that, but I actually started writing it as a story because having been in the film industry, I realized like trying to get a film up and getting everybody to nod their head at the same time at that time was really difficult. So I just, and everybody was going, oh, you'll never make a living out of writing books. Only 1% of people ever make, and I love it when people say I can't do something. It's just a perfect invite, So I did, and I started writing it as a novel during a break from work, and it just took on a life of its own. I found myself an agent by accident. I was just introduced to another author at a shindig, and I got him interested in this whole idea of simultaneous time, like a character in the past doing something in it, affecting the future and vice versa. Like that time wasn't necessarily, like if you were reincarnating, you weren't necessarily reincarnating into a future life. You could have been reincarnating into a past life. So this whole thing, like he was just mind blown. He's going, I have trouble with day 1, day 2, day 3, let alone jumping all over the universe, And so he said, would you like me to introduce you to my agent? Which he did. She loved the book. She found me a publisher, and that was it. We just started chugging out books.
Well, what's your I know earlier you had said you're dyslexic and you're
Oh,
more
yeah.
of a storyteller than a writer. So what's your creative process look like? Is it like a strict routine? Do you sit down every day and you say I'm going to type this many words, or is it more intuitive? Is it like free flowing? Like what's it look
I'm
like?
Well, I'm one of these writers that I can sit down and not have a clue where the story's going. I let the story and the characters lead me, and they always steer me right. So it's going well for me so far. We're 22 books in now, so it's. But I'm one of those writers that I write the story once, I go slow, I edit as I go, I get to the end, and that's it. It goes to my editor. She usually reads it over, goes, yeah, it's great, and off it goes. Like it's mainly the spelling, like
Hmm.
missing words and things like that because I'm dyslexic. But the story's always all there. Like I
Wow.
don't, the structural edit is an easy thing.
So you said you send it off to your editor. So
Yeah.
uh, let's pivot a little bit to the Web3. You this is your second mint
Yeah.
with Book.io. So you're an experienced author now. So what are your thoughts on the future of publishing? How did you come across stuff in the first
Well,
place?
I came across stuff when it was book.
Hmm.
And I came across book because I'm into Cardano, and my Cardano stake pool operator, Chris, was sort of he was one of the few people in my pool that knew that I was a writer, and he's going, oh, you might want to check out these guys. Because I'd actually been waiting. I'd seen a few publishers publishing on Ethereum, and I know that stuff and book do too, but to me it doesn't make sense because of, well, what was high fees at when I started publishing with these guys. And it just didn't make, it was such a large denomination to be buying books with, I was going, Cardano's really more of a retail coin because I was in retail before I was doing this. I was in retail books, retail records. So it's like I just understood that Cardano would work from a retail perspective, and I was waiting for somebody to go there. And when he pointed out book, I just started following their newsletter. And I'm one of those people that, when I get those little intuitive voices that say, okay, we want you to email these people now. I did not even hesitate. I just got on the email and said, hey, guys, this is me. I'm from Australia. I do this. Really interested in what you do. could we have a chat? And I mean, 2 weeks later, I had a contract with them, and we were publishing 12 chapters of The Infinite Night. And that was amazing. Just talking as far as the future goes, I was talking to Sheila this week, and I love to animate. Like, I love all the AI art and being able to create visions of what I see in
Yeah.
my head, my characters, all of that. It's amazing. And I know a lot of people don't get it, but a lot of people don't have my brain. So
We're early. We're just early, that's all.
just so early. And Sheila knows that I've wanted animated covers, and they're not quite there yet. Like, but we can almost put animations into the book and stuff. But she was saying that, like, soon you're going to be reading the book, and you're going to be able to have like a chapter page where you have like a animation just sweep in over everything, and like you have a little bit of a moment, and then it just sweeps out again, and you're back in the book. It's like, oh my God, this is how books compete with video games, movies. We can make them the same kind of really visually stimulating, exciting experience. Or you could just turn it off if you just want to read the book. But me, I'd like all the pretty pictures as well, and have a bit of a vibe and some music, and like, I'm so excited.
I know it unlocks so many different levels. Every level unlocks another different level. It's
Yeah.
amazing. The future and the era that we're living in, especially when it comes to publishing AI and
But,
the Web 3.
not only that, the immediate royalties. I mean, I don't think, as far as I know, I don't know of any other company that pays you royalties immediately. I can't think of, I've never come across one anyway. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And which is absolutely amazing for authors. There's so many people, especially because I'm in Australia. So when I talk about publishing on the blockchain, there's hardly anybody here who has any idea what I'm talking about. And like, early, where like, this is like prehistory, here in
Yeah.
Australia. It's still dinosaurs over here, like, seriously. But I think I'm starting to see the interest generate, like the idea of owning your own stuff, being able to sell it, gift it, rent it out, have it be an asset. It's a lot of people are having trouble wrapping their mind around that right now, but it's just so amazing. I know they will eventually. We'll get there.
Yeah, you said immediate royalties. So is that the biggest pro for you when it comes to
Um,
Web3 publishing? Is that it? The immediate
on
payment?
It's one. It certainly is, because having been in publishing since 1996, and when ebooks came in, about 2006, every author I know practically had their income slashed to like only 10% of what it was before. And so it's either we're not getting things reported, or there was so much piracy that we've just lost that from ebooks, which is another thing that Book.io and Stuff.io actually solve. The piracy issue, which was another
Hmm.
thing that was primarily attractive to me, because I mean, I had one of those engines that used to look for pirated copies. Thousands. That was just the copies that were being put out there for people to download. Thousands and thousands a day. So you can imagine what you're losing in royalties when that happens. So it's kind of like, I mean, what else could you possibly want from a publisher? It's getting to the point where the mainstream publishers just won't even be able to compete. And I love being on the cutting edge of everything, because I've been trying to get publishing to do like moving covers since ebooks came out. When they said digital, I went, oh, excellent, we can have moving covers. And everyone looked at me like I had two heads. I mean, they still are. But we'll get there. We're so close now. But we're going to get there. Like, books are absolutely on the cutting edge of. I mean, they're going to be Amazon for Web3. That's just it.
So what's the one piece of advice you would give an author that's trying to navigate self-publishing in today's market, would you tell them to start with a company like Book.io, or would you tell them to go the traditional route? Like how what's the one piece of advice? What would you tell them to do?
These days, I mean, I know every young author dreams of that publishing deal with one of the big five. And I mean, you've got to understand you're a very little cog in a very big wheel, and that, you know, the days of literary lunches and really big advances and all of that are pretty well dead, unless you may be J.K. Rowling and you've written another Harry Potter or something like that. Who knows? But, you know, mostly that's not the case. And what I've discovered is that you are far better off, because I have my own store as well. So I can take this book from concept all the way to posting it to someone. The whole gamut of publishing, I can do it all myself if I have to, and I have done. Because it's worthwhile keeping the blockchain rights. You try and get a publisher now to get you to let you keep the blockchain rights. And they don't know what they are, but they won't let you have them anyway because they don't know what they are because they don't know what they're giving up. So, or very few that I've spoken to have got really any idea what it's all about. So from my point of view, as someone who's established themselves already, I find that I'm better off sticking with my fan base, publishing myself, keeping the blockchain rights, and publishing with someone like Book.io. And then I also have a publisher that I've been with for a very long time who does my audios, Belinda Audio. So, you know,
Shout out Belinda.
Yeah, shout out Belinda. Sorry, Book.io, but they are also very good. And I'm sure that you guys will meet soon and it will be very profitable. I'll get you in touch, you know. We'll do that. Yeah.
Okay, well, today it's been an amazing episode talking about stuff. I want to shout out you, Tracy. Thank you for joining us, sharing your incredible journey with us. Is there anything you'd like to add about today's book mint specifically?
I am very excited because this is my first and most beloved book, and the artwork is so beautiful. Billy helped. I mean, thank God Billy helped me out. We signed a contract like a week ago, and it was like, we expect you're doing the artwork, because I do so much artwork, but I'm currently writing a book, and most of the stuff I was preparing was for that one. So Sheila's on to me like a week ago going, how many pictures have you got? And I'm going, well, technically, none, but I have lots to work with because, you know, I've done, you know, lots of pictures for this, for other things, for animations and stuff like that. I'm going, I'm sure I could get lots of stuff together. So it's been a week for me and Billy, to like, shout out to Billy, who was just amazing. Couldn't have done it without him, and Sheila and the guy that puts the titles on, because everybody had a bit of a Thanksgiving surprise, not always good ones, and it was sort of like, oh my God, how are we going to get this out? But they just, what a team, you know, they've pulled through, and it's going through, and tomorrow morning it's all happening. So be there, everyone, please, and come and check it out.
Well, again, be there for the mint, be early, be ready, and thank you for the conversation. And if you love this conversation, follow this podcast. Be sure to check out Tracy's books on Book.io, and don't forget to keep listening and keep inspiring authors and creatives. Thank you.